Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. Cox Media is excited to be your host today and partnering with Burrell Associates to bring you a webinar called Keeping Your Customers Engaged During Time of Crisis. We think there's a lot of action-packed content within what we're going to share today, and we know that you'll get some ideas from it. But before we jump in, I would love to introduce myself and introduce Cox Media a little bit to you. My name is Mary Beth Salazar. I am the Executive Director of Marketing here on Cox Media's corporate team. Like many of you in this marketing and promotions and advertising space, I have never quite seen some of the challenges that we're facing today, and know that even in the best of times, it's a difficult task to run a small business. So I can only imagine the overwhelming feeling that has been compounded by recent events as we talk to many of our Cox Media clients who are doing their best to navigate through it. One of the things that we always strive to do at Cox Media, one of the missions that we have, is to provide deep expertise and trusted guidance to those that we work with. And that's just in regular times. As we navigate what is now seems very unprecedented, we want to be here next and help you as you do the right thing for your employees, as you think about the right thing to do for your customers, and certainly as you even do the right thing for your community. Cox Media is here, and we want to help you with that. So we partnered with Burrell Associates. Burrell Associates is a leader in local business advertising insights, and they're going to be your experts today hosting this webinar. It's a data-fueled webinar. There's a lot of best practices that we're going to share and some key tips that I think you'll be able to apply right away as you think about your business. So we hope you leave this call feeling more at ease and a little more equipped to handle some of the decisions you're facing right now. And it'll provide you some tools and next steps at the end to help you do just that. But in order to do that, first we need to hear from the experts. So I'm excited to throw it over to Gordon Burrell and his team to talk us through it. Gordon, take it away.
Thank you, Mary Beth, and thank you for everybody attending, and congratulations on being here. It tells us that you are thinking differently. Mary Beth said it well. It's a very challenging time for small businesses, but I have to tell you, we have been here before, and we are a small business ourselves at Burrell Associates. We only have about 15 employees. And we relish times like this. It might not sound so great to say that, but from a marketing and business perspective, there are great opportunities here while everyone else is paralyzed. We launched our business when the dot-com bubble burst and 9/11 occurred. It was a great time to gain new voice while everybody else was generally paralyzed. And that's when our business started in 2001. We launched a major conference at the depth of the Great Recession in 2008, 2009. And the first conference that we had in New York at the Grand Hyatt was sold out. So we're schooled in disruptive innovation. We understand these times. And even though it is really difficult, and I'm being very positive here, it's difficult for us too. You have to really think differently. It's very challenging. If you listen to the news and you watch what's going on, it can be really scary and really depressing. So I do want to acknowledge that, but I also want you to take a deep breath, because now could be a time for your business to shine. And that's what we are here to tell you. So what I wanted to do is give you an idea of the agenda. We're going to take the next 45 minutes. We're a couple of minutes into it, so it'll probably be 42 minutes. We will take your questions toward the end as well. But we're going to try to stay on time here for you and run through these things pretty rapid fire. There's lots of data and lots of information, so take notes, take screenshots. I'm going to give you a quick overview and tell you that we have been here before and show you some examples of what's happened to other businesses over time when they've taken advantage of situations like this and realized now is really the time to change your marketing messages. We're going to take a look at the effect at the local level. It's not about big brands and what big brands are doing. You are local businesses, and that's our business. That's our domain, local marketing and local advertising. And there's nobody better to understand the pulse of what local businesses are doing, just like you, than Corey Elliott. Then we're going to take a look at some things that you might be doing right now with Jim Brown. Jim is the on-the-ground guy, and he's got some advice for you, how you might want to start looking at things and how you might want to craft some of your different marketing messages. And then we're going to get some ideas for you to kind of get your juices flowing. And that's always the funnest part of this, is challenge us with some ideas. If you're an insurance company or you're like a food truck or a restaurant, and you're a landscape services person and things are dead and you just can't imagine how you should be advertising right now. Why? Nobody's buying. You're wrong. Ask us. We'll tell you. We've got some great ideas, and we'll run through a few of them for you. So let me step back about 100 years and tell you that, yes, we have been here before. During the Great Depression, there's a great example, and this is off-cited. This is an example of a story in New Yorker from about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, about what happened to Post, which did the predictable thing during the Great Depression, and what probably some of you are thinking about doing right now, and that is reining in expenses and cutting back on advertising. Kellogg saw this as an opportunity to beat up on the big guy, and the big guy was being silent at the time. And they said, wow, we can really gain a voice and seize the new medium of the day, which at that time was radio. Their profits rose and they became a market leader and are still a market leader today. That is a great example. But let's look back just recently to 2001 during the dot-com bubble burst, and then we were all riveted to our television and we were watching the World Trade Center collapse again and again and again on replay. GM said, well, let's take a page out of Kellogg's book. Let's keep America rolling again and launch this campaign with 0% interest. They added 1 million units between the end of September and the end of December in 2001, and they just had all of their competitors stunned. I guarantee you right now, all car manufacturers, they know this example. It's been cited many times over. They're doing the same thing. So at the national level, a lot of businesses know this. At the local level, a lot of your competitors don't, those who are not on this call. So we're giving you, I think, some great information here that's going to help you understand, oh, wow, this translates very well down at the local level. So one of the things that you have to be really careful of is not riding this orange line, which is consumer sentiment. So consumer confidence right now, of course, is really, really low. And so you're thinking, well, nobody's buying stuff, so why should I advertise right now? Why I need to conserve my money. Look at the blue line, and that's where your head should be. That's what your mindset should be tied to. Consumer buying is up. Haven't you all bought more stuff in the past couple of weeks? Might be chicken, might be toilet paper, might be hand sanitizer, or other things. Yes, people are buying a lot of stuff. They're also buying mulch, and they're also buying jewelry, and they're also buying home services, and they're also looking in the homes at all of their additional needs, the cracks in the wall, the plaster that needs to be done, and they're buying more and more stuff. So you have to think about that. It doesn't happen automatically. So I'm not here to tell you people are just automatically going to be interested in buying your service. You're going to have to give them a reason. You're going to have to raise your hand and say, we're here, while your competitors are silent, and you're going to have to give them some creative reason why they should be thinking about you. And those creative reasons are just really, really cool. We're going to help you with some of those in a moment. You're going to have to adapt to the current message. Don't believe just us in this. Look at what the SBA, they give excellent advice to small businesses on many different things. This is their page on how businesses can take some advantage during the coronavirus crisis, and they're talking about marketing. And you can see what they say about marketing. It's critical to communicate openly with your customers. So they're acknowledging that. And you already know this. What's the status of your operation? You open, you close, what protective measures you've implemented. We're not going to talk about that here. We're going to talk about promotions. That's why you're here. We're talking about advertising and promotions and gaining market share at the expense of your competitors at this really interesting time. What the SBA says about it is promotions may help incentivize customers who may be reluctant to patronize your business. Isn't that why you're here? You're wondering why customers would patronize your business right now, maybe a little bewildered? Well, you've taken the first step. So we're here to tell you how that actually works. What we're not suggesting that you do is brand messaging. You may do that, and that would be fine if you have the dollars for that. But down at the local level, what we found with smaller businesses, they don't have a lot of money to do the type of brand advertising that Coca-Cola or McDonald's might do. So we want to get real with you. We want to take it down to the local level and say, okay, let's be careful, recommending, that you spend money. You need to know what you should be spending. Let's be careful to get the message right. What is the correct message? What types of things should you be saying right now? Where should you be placing your advertising? So before we get into all of that and then start throwing ideas at you, I wanted to turn over to Corey Elliott. Corey is the guy when it comes to understanding what local businesses just like you are doing. He really does, on a day-to-day basis, take the pulse from an advertising and marketing perspective. Corey?
Hi, yeah, thanks, Gordon, and thanks everybody for being here. This is going to be worthwhile for you. I'm a big believer in knowledge is power, and that's what we're going to share with you. I'm the research guy, so here comes a bunch of numbers and stats, but I think you'll find it worthwhile. We run the largest small medium business survey in America that is focused on marketing. We also run an SMB panel, local businesses. Every month we poll local businesses and they give us their thoughts and feelings on local marketing and the economy overall. So that's how we stay in touch with what's really happening on Main Street, and we can communicate that to others. So I want to take you on a little bit of a journey of what we hear folks like you, local businesses, where they were and where they're at now, and see if you fit into these kind of categories. First of all, I want to take you back to the end of 2019, those heady times a few months ago. This is where things were for local businesses at the end of 2019. This is how they were thinking about marketing. 50% of them agreed with Wanamaker's lament. And if you don't know what that is, he's the guy who said down there at the bottom of the slide, half my advertising works. The trouble is I don't know which half. Haha, very funny. But then again, not so funny when half of local businesses agree with that lament. 48% have no strategy for setting an ad budget. We asked, how do you come up with your ad budget? Is it a percentage of gross sales? Maybe 5% over last year? 48% said we don't really have a strategy. 58% didn't know if they were underspending or overspending or weren't spending the right amount. They just weren't sure if they were spending the right amount. Moreover, is what we got from the open-ended answers and the open-ended questions was local businesses like yourself, and maybe you fall into this category, are handling your own marketing. You're your own CMO. You're trying to make the best decision you can. You're going up to the buffet of marketing choices and putting together a plate and hoping it works. You're not depending on an agency. There's not one particular media rep that is recommending a complete marketing campaign. You're doing it. So that's tough, especially if that's not your job, your regular job. So let's go and look at how local businesses were looking at the economy at the end of 2019. We ask this question 3 or 4 times a year, and we try and get the sentiment of how local businesses would characterize the current economic situation for sustaining a small business. What you're looking at, the red line are the percentage of local businesses who said, ooh, it's a poor time. The blue, that one line that's been shooting up since December of 2018, are the ones that are saying it's excellent. Oh man, it is great. What do you think these lines look like when we asked in March of this year? Got your answer? Here it is. I'll show you. Look like that. So now, obviously, that's 73% of local businesses on our panel said, ooh, it is the economic conditions are poor right now. So you're not alone. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of consternation out there about what's going to go on, what's happening. So let's dig a little bit deeper into that. In this survey, we also asked 4 questions we don't usually ask, but we wanted to see where everybody's head was at. That last one, what could local media companies do to help you? Jim's actually going to take that one over because it fits a little bit better. There were open-ended answers, and it's really interesting how they came together. But I want to go over these other ones. Again, think about how you would have answered these questions. Here's how your peers did. How are you being impacted, positively or negatively? Well, 86% said I'm seeing a negative impact, with 52% saying I think I'm going to be down more than 30% this year. And this was the entire spectrum. These are all sorts of different local advertisers answering this question. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. There's a little bit, you guys are optimistic, or not optimistic, you're hopeful. You're seeing maybe a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel, because we asked, how long do you anticipate the impact on your business will last? 42% said 1 to 4 months. That's pretty good. 42% saying 1 to 4 months, I foresee the end, and then it stretches out beyond there. Okay, that's good. what about, because we're curious about it, what about marketing and advertising? What are you going to do for the next 6 months? Are you going to increase or decrease? Got your answer? Here's what your peers said. 52% said less. 44% said same or more. Now that 52% that said less is really interesting. Remember that slide at the beginning of this that said 73% think it's a poor economic condition? Yet, wouldn't you expect that less to be around 73%? It isn't. It's 52%. Thing that's kind of pushing it is that 16% who say more. And I get this question a lot. Oh, well, what kind of business segments are those? There's not a commonality of business segments. It's a commonality of marketing expertise. Because we ask when we score every local business who's in our panel on whether they've done a lot of marketing in the past or they're really pretty good at it. The ones who skew towards they're fairly adept tend to be in that 16% or more. So that's an interesting correlation.
Corey, yeah, if I could jump in, there were two things that you said there that really you said a lot of things that were really good, excuse me, but there were two that really stuck out for me. And two that I look at is that 73%, that spike in that red line. So 73% think the environment is going to be worse. But there obviously are some, when you look at this pie chart, maybe a significant amount, they're saying, yeah, conditions are going to be worse, but I'm advertising anyway. I'm buying advertising and I'm marketing. And the fascinating finding that 16% are spending more, and your finding is that, oh, it's not a certain amount, just people selling toilet paper and hand sanitizer. No, this is more a difference between novice and expert marketers. So the conclusion is the expert marketers are the ones that are realizing this is an opportunity. There's one other thing, if I could draw it together from that very first slide that you had, that is just fascinating, and that is you saw, Wanamaker's lament and advertisers not knowing exactly what they should be spending and, not having a strategy for spending. We have seen that sentiment grow over the past several years as more advertisers take on the direct to consumer medium of the internet and they start doing more of their own tasks. So things coming into this year kind of have gotten out of sync over the past couple of years, but heck, everything is just fine because the economy was doing great. Unemployment was an all-time low. So it didn't quite matter that you were wasting a little bit of your advertising expenditures or that you were trying things that, maybe didn't work. But now it does because the rug has been pulled out from under you. So now it becomes really critical. You can't waste. You can't make mistakes with your ad dollars. They'd be fairly costly right now. And you certainly, because of the sensitivity of this environment, and you don't want to negate people's concerns about it and look daft about, hey, everything's wonderful, that's why we're advertising. You have to be really careful with your messaging. So those are the key things that really kind of stuck out for me. But Corey, I think the big question on everybody's mind, even though that people are saying in our surveys, businesses, that, well, this is 1 to 4 months. I don't think everybody really knows. But let's say there is a comeback in 4 months or 3 months or 2 months or whatever it is. How fast is that comeback going to be? The reason, before you answer, that is critical, is that we want you to understand that when that occurs, and let's say it happens all at once and one day everything is back to normal, we want your competitors to open their doors and go, hey, where are all the customers? Because what we're teaching you today, took all their customers away. That's what we're talking about, stealing share. Corey, what kind of indicators do we have that show when a comeback, what's the timing of the economy coming back?
Sure. The one thing we can look at is where a country that's ahead of us in this experience, and that's China. This comes from Harvard Business Review. It's a great article they put up, and the point number 7 is well taken, and I think something to explore here. They are suggesting you prepare for a faster recovery than you expect. They're looking at economic indicators in China about when the economy is coming back and how fast it's coming back. And they're looking at things like traffic congestion and real estate transactions, things like that. And what they're discovering is, wow, it's coming back faster than we thought, though it's returning to normalcy a lot faster. It's repeating patterns of the previous years that kind of indicates that things are getting back to normal. It's not 100% yet, but it's a heck of a lot faster than anybody thought it would be. So the suggestion of this article is get ready, because when it comes back, that pent-up demand that everybody has is going to unleash. and you want to be in front of that. Speaking of that pent-up demand, that makes you think about who? Consumers, the people who are driving all this kind of, I mean, what's going on with them right now? I've got 2 more slides to go over that are focused on the consumers. Nielsen, which tracks media consumption by consumers, sees an uptick of nearly 60% when consumers are asked to stay at home, like during a hurricane or earthquake, some kind of event that causes people to have to stay at home. All media consumption of all types, both news, entertainment, whatever, rises nearly 60%. So they're engaged a lot more with media. If we cut that a little finer and look a little bit deeper, we see things like this, where visitorship of local news sites, about 40 selected news sites, actually jumped 33% in a couple of weeks. This is from ComScore. That jump is unprecedented. It jumped quite a bit, and we see it in different kinds of media too. We see these spikes happening as people are staying at home.
Corey, what do we know, since there's such a big number there saying 60% increase in media consumption, but we know that people aren't just going to news sites. It's a lot of other media. Is the rise you're seeing across all types of media?
Yeah, it is. You're seeing a variety, it depends on the market, et cetera, but you're seeing rise in radio consumption. You're seeing rise in cable, anywhere from 20% upwards of 70% sometimes, depending on like I said, depending on the market. But it's really a jump in engagement. The only media that might be faltering a little bit is outdoor, and that kind of makes sense because you don't have a lot of people on the roads, right? And so the people with the big outdoor contracts are kind of, want to renegotiate that right now because they're just not getting their return. So that's the one media. Now, to be fair to outdoor, that's a media that was being pretty healthy in the last few years. So they're the ones that are kind of teetering right now.
Terrific, thank you. We're going to move over to Jim Brown right now, who's going to sort of walk us through some of the thoughts we had from when we asked businesses just like yours, how could media partners, those who kind of understand and kind of control the channels, how they might be able to help you with your marketing needs, what they're seeing, what they're capable of doing. Also, how you might want to think about your messaging, the types of messages that you might be putting out there right now that would actually generate traffic at business. And then also some ideas for some of these promotions that we've been talking about. Right at the center of that is Jim Brown. Jim?
Great. Thanks, Gordon. Thanks, Corey. And yeah, it definitely is about ideas. It's about communication. So if you change your thinking a little bit from advertising to communication, we have a lot of people say, is this really a good time to be out there advertising? If you change the word to communication, yeah, it becomes pretty obvious. Yes, you always want to be out there communicating with your customers and prospects. The Department of Health and Human Services published a document right after 9/11. It was just recently updated by the CDC last year, and it's called the Psychology of a Crisis. And one aspect of that particular document is how people process information in times of a crisis, and it's a bit different than how they normally might process information. And I'm talking about natural disasters, big crisis, not personal crisis. And there are 2 pieces of this I think are noteworthy. One is that in a time of a crisis, people turn to national media at first, and then they look for confirmation at a local market level. They want to know what's really happening at the local market, so they turn to local media then. The second thing is kind of advice on how you communicate during times of crisis. And there are really 3 very important things because people have a lot of information coming at them. What you need to do is be especially clear. You need to simplify your message. You need to make sure it's coming from a credible source. It's enveloped in some sort of credible environment, and it needs to be consistent, which often means it needs to be repeated, the same message over and over so people get it. So we want to talk to you about that, about your communication. And as Corey mentioned, this survey that we did, there is a question that we posed to local businesses, folks just like you. What is it that media companies could do to help you? And it really comes down to 3 things that you've asked for the most. One is give us some good advice, help promote us, and most importantly, come up with some good ideas. That seems to be the largest group. More people mention that they want ideas than anything else. Ideas to help keep us relevant right now. Even though our doors might be closed and we can't see our customers face to face, how do we stay in front of them? What are the things we should do? How do we speak to them? What tone, what messages? Give me a way to deliver a really calm message, a confident one right now to our clients. How do I do that? So we're going to give you some thoughts on how you can communicate that. But we look at businesses right now, we know they fall into a couple different categories. Your business is probably either deemed an essential business right now, right? We know what some of those are, hospitals being one, grocery stores being another. Some businesses fall more into this non-essential at-risk category, and others are just a bit more in limbo. So if you're a business that relies on lots of people to come to your single location, that's a tough spot to be in right now. Or maybe you're in a service business where you come to other people, you might be a little bit in limbo. But what we're telling you, and we've said it a couple of times now, your communication needs, your advertising and marketing really is best served by promotions. So we'll talk to you about what promotions are and how you can take advantage of them, what really that means to you, and how you can get a leg up on your competition. So if you think about messaging right now and marketing in a time of crisis, your business, again, falls into either this non-essential category or an essential category. You either have a physical store or an office or a business where people come to you, or you're one of those businesses that delivers your product or service, or you're in a service-related business where you come to other people's businesses or homes to serve them. And depending on where you are on this continuum, if you're way up there at the top right, where, not only you're a non-essential business, but you're also closed right now, people can't see you, that's a tough spot to be. And you got to be a lot more creative in your messaging and how you cut through the clutter and how you communicate with people. So we'll be giving you examples on how to do just that. So here's our advice to you. If you're a local marketer right now, particularly if you're in a service-related business, pick up the phone. It's such a valuable communication tool. And if possible, look for opportunities to call customers. I'll give you a quick example. In the financial services category, I work with a couple different financial planners, one of whom has called me at least a half a dozen times, checking in on me, not to frighten me, but to alert me to what's going on and actually discuss some opportunities in the market. The other has been sending me emails, and I'm just getting email after email, and they're all fairly generic. Email can be a good communication tool, but if you have the opportunity to call people, by all means, we suggest you do that. If you are going to email folks, then a suggestion is don't put COVID-19 in that headline. It's negative, and think about how many messages you get every day in your email with COVID-19 in them now. You just start ignoring them. So we'd suggest you stay away from that in your emails. Look for other ways to get the message out. Social media is a good way. It's not the only way. You may end up finding yourself talking to the same people over and over that way. You need to look for more creative marketing tactics. We suggest that you get some expert advice, all right? This is not a time to get it wrong. It's more important now than ever that you get the right messages out there. And I've said this a couple of times. We keep wanting to reiterate this to you. It's an opportunity to speak to non-customers as well as your current customers. You want to assure folks, of course, that you're open for business, or even if your doors are closed, that you're not out of business, you're still there. You want to be relevant. So think about offers and promotions that are really useful to people in your community that help solve the problems they're experiencing today. And some of those might be a little bit different than what you've normally sold, right? Your business might serve a little bit different need at this particular time. With respect to your messaging, we're suggesting that you be careful not to feed into the panic. Again, stay away from COVID-19 in their headlines, right? Don't downplay people's concerns because they're real, they're legitimate right now. But we'd also suggest, unless you're in the medical business, that you probably don't need to be putting medical advice out there. There's a lot of misinformation. I'll be very careful about doing that. At the same time, you should be empathizing with your customers. Don't lead with selling them something. Lead with empathizing for the situation that they might be in, share the concerns that they might have, but also communicate the things you're doing to let them know what you're doing to keep your employees safe, what you're doing to keep your facilities clean and take care of your own customers. by all means, stay positive with your messaging. So let's talk a little bit about promotions. Again, what are they? They can run into a whole bunch of different categories, but essentially promotions allow you to communicate a message or build a list of people to communicate with. All right, they tend to be short-term, event-driven promotions. They have an expiration date. Expert marketers use promotions not only to generate leads, but to create an opportunity to be able to communicate with people over and over again, not only current customers, but prospects. So whether it's a contest, it's a quiz, some sort of ballot, some brackets, some polls, any number of promotions that are out there that help you do that, that's what we're looking for. So a couple of comments. If you're doing a promotion, what we want to make sure you're doing is making it relevant to people right now where they're at. So on this next slide, I just want to reiterate to you, let people know you're part of their community. Let them know that you're open for business, that you want to help. And, if you get creative, you can think about how your product or service ties into things. So, whether it's a pet employee of the week, thanks to our healthcare workers, or, you could have a contest where people will have their children, reciting the Pledge of Allegiance in front of a flag, and, you let people vote on how well they do. There's all these creative ideas that take advantage of the fact that people are at home right now, and their habits have changed a little bit. I think we're going to see a lot of interesting creative things come out as a result of this. So I'm going to quickly go through a few ideas for you, a couple businesses that you can learn from. So how about let's take a look at American Airlines, what they're doing. You might think, well, nobody's traveling right now, and what message could they possibly put out there? What they realize is that, there's an opportunity to capture the business that will return. So in addition to telling people about what they're doing to, address their travel needs, flexible prices and so forth, they're saying, hey, when it is time to travel, our experts have compiled their very best tips for travel destinations all over the world. Get inspired. Where will you go first? Again, the idea is we're capturing where people want to go so we can market to them later, right? How about a moving company? What if you have a local moving company? If you're working with somebody and you're thinking, okay, here's the situation. Our business, moving company, what can we do? Nobody is using moving companies. Well, get creative. And this might apply to lots of different businesses, but let's look at what U-Haul's done. They realize there's loads of students right now that are moving out of apartments early because the college and universities are closing. So they're solving that need. And, in this case, they're putting out a message that says, look, we can help you with your truck, trailer, and storage needs. We're not doing any kind of price gouging. We're the only company that rents to 18-year-olds, and we take third-party payments. We're here to help. What they're doing is showing, here's how we're solving a problem that's a unique new one. So some of you are in businesses right now, look for where there's a new problem that you can solve.
Yeah, Jim,
Here's
if I
another.
could jump in just a second, that is just such an important point for everybody. And that is, if you continue to consider that your business is normal and that people are just going to come and buy your product, it's not going to work. What U-Haul did was not say, hey, we're here for you if you need to move. Okay, you're kind of tailoring the message to the mood, right? But no, they said, what is the current need and how has it changed? I'll just give you one quick example, Jim, before you go to this dermatology clinic. My mechanic, a guy who does work on the cars, I've got several cars in the driveway right now. The kids are home. Nobody's going anywhere. And he realizes that because I just went up there and told him, because I just took a car up. I said, you should probably be advertising right now. There are a lot of people at home who have their cars sitting there and they probably need some maintenance. And, if you evoked a little sympathy, he usually does this by sending out a text message to me saying, hey, Gordon, it's a particularly slow time right now. This is at other times. You have any work that needs to be done? Now would be the good time to schedule it. Well, I said, why don't you send that message out right now? So he said, yeah, that's a great idea. But the point is, the patterns of your customers have changed, just shown in that U-Haul example. It's not that, okay, people at some point are going to need a moving truck. You're going to have to think, what's being moved right now? Okay, what are people's habits in staying at home, what they might need? So channeling their needs and adapting to what your product has to offer them at this moment is just really important. Jim?
Yeah, so I'm going to use this dermatology clinic as another example of how a business is adapting to what's going on. People are at home, they can't come into their clinic. So what have they done? They've come up with telemedicine, and it's here, it's live, it's available. So you may be able to do this, right? If you're in a kind of business that suddenly you can interact with customers online, by all means, figure out a way to do that. You might need to partner with somebody who's got the technology chops to help you do that, right? In this case, they're setting appointments, and they can't serve every need. But people are at home and they might find they've got a rash on their elbow and something suspicious they want you to take a look at. They're using mobile phones, take a picture of it and converse with their customers through the computer. Think about whether or not you can do that. Could be an opportunity. Here's another one. How about a motorcycle dealership? You might think, well, gosh, are people, even buying motorcycles? I'm not seeing a lot of traffic in my showroom. Here's a great message that a Harley Davidson dealer out in California has put together, Riverside Harley Davidson. And what they've done is they've crafted a message based on what's happening right now. And they're saying, look, we are the original social distancing. Think about that, getting on a Harley and getting away from everyone. Help stop the spread. Social distancing puts a buffer between people, right? And that's what Harleys do. You get out on the road and get away from everyone. So point here is, and the idea is, can I come up with a message that's sort of consistent with what people are doing right now? Because gosh, that sure makes you want to get on a motorcycle and get out and get away from everyone. So let's give you a couple other examples. How about a local clothing store? If you are in a position where your doors open, great. Many of you aren't. Many of you can't let customers come in your doors right now because of regulations. So what can you do? Maybe a video of your store. Maybe you can show some of the clothes that you have, your new spring line. Maybe you can put a coupon out there. Hey, sign up, and when we do open, you'll be alerted to when we open, and you'll get the special discount available only to people who've registered. Whatever it might be. Again, that takes care of that pent-up demand. Here's one that Tom James knows our world is changing, but the need to represent never does, right? That never changes. Let us help. So Gordon, this ad showed up in your inbox, didn't it?
Yeah, just another great example of, okay, clothing store, it's not creative like, hey, we're here for you, and when the doors open back up, you can buy from us. No, it's like, oh, hell, people are probably sitting in front of a desk right now at home, in their pajamas. You really need to look sharp from the waist up. What a clever campaign. This happened to have come in when I was on a Zoom call, and I was kind of looking behind me like, are they behind me somewhere looking at me with the camera? It was really just a coincidence. Jim had said earlier about phone calls. They are so important. We put these in practice as a company. We get loads of emails, but people really want you to call them. They really want you to empathize with them. And so I get a call from the sales rep, and he empathized. He said, how you doing? How's your business? What are you seeing? What do you think? He didn't say, well, would you like to buy a shirt? Or did you see my ad? I brought it up. I said, hey, that was a great ad. And that was the entree for him to ask me if I needed to buy anything at the moment. It was just great, and it strengthened my affinity for that company. So just another idea. The next one, Jim, is a really cool one too, because it comes from one of our employees.
Yeah. One of our employees' husband owns a food truck. Right? You think that's a tough business to be in right now? They came up with a pretty cool ad, and look, put this under the header of getting attention. Right? They put 7 reasons why somebody should use a food truck. Some of these are really practical. Some of them are kind of funny. But this got some attention, and it got shared through social media. As a result, they got contacted by some nursing homes, a senior center, and a hospital after this started to appear. And people started thinking, oh yeah, I could use a food truck right now. It'd be good to have them come and give us a change in pace. Many municipalities right now are opening up regulations for lots of businesses like food trucks to be able to come into a neighborhood right now. I know my neighborhood, it did it last Friday. Food truck came in. It was fantastic. It was a nice break from our routine of cooking for ourselves, right? Again, the point here is, how do you now meet people where they are and the new circumstances they're at, and how you can solve for that problem. A couple others that we have out there we'll go through really kind of quickly, but it's all designed to get you to think a little bit differently. If you're a landscaper, there are people at home right now. They might have time to do some work themselves, but they might want to employ you to do it. Perhaps you need to partner with somebody who, supplies shrubs and mulch and so forth, and you put it down for people. How about the financial services one? Again, this is about picking up the phone to communicate. The plasterer. Okay, my wife is at home right now. She is looking around our house, seeing all kinds of stuff that needs to be done. My honey-do list is getting longer and longer. And, for many of you, you might still be in a location where you can come into people's homes. It's a little bit easier to schedule because they're not away at work and they can have you come in and do the work. Jewelry store. Look, this falls under the category of the fact that money is just moving around. My 30th wedding anniversary is coming up. My wife and I were planning a trip to Italy. We're not going to Italy now, all right, but I still have that money and I'm going to need to do something for my wife for our anniversary, and a jewelry piece might be the way to go for me. So that's a good example. A dog kennel. Gordon, I'm going to let you talk about this one because you saw a really interesting ad the other day. Maybe you can tell everybody about it.
Sure, we've got some questions that are coming in, so if you want to type more in, we've got a little time for those questions. The dog kennel was just a really cool one because think about it. Now, each one of these, we had a call from a landscaper who said, I'm a landscaper who does services. Everybody's doing their own landscaping work. The plasterer and general contractor, okay, my business is dead. Why should I be advertising? So these were all ideas that we had seen actually put in practice after people had asked us about it. The dog kennel was a great one. We were on a webinar and someone who was actually a panelist, their dog barked. It was one of those little yappy dogs too. So sorry if any of you have little yappy dogs, but it was, it's like, okay, here's a great idea. People are at home and they have these dogs and the dogs are just really antsy. So this kennel up in the Northeast did this ad of a dog, of a talking dog, and the dog's mouth is moving and it's just, very fixated on the camera. And it says, these people all day long on the computer, on the telephone, taking me for a walk 5, 6, 7 times a day. I need a vacation. It was great. One of those things you want to share, right? And it was give your dog a vacation, send him to the kennel with friends, and let him hang out with his friends for a few days. That level of creative thinking is what you really need for your business, just to get attention, to have fun, to elevate the mood, to say we're here to let your brand rise above, all of the noise and say, we're here. We know your plight. You're at home and so are your dogs. And maybe they need a little bit of a vacation from you. So, Jim?
That's right. And look, I also want to get you to think things are going to change. There are going to be opportunities that come as a result of all of this. My prediction, when things start to open back up, you're going to see a lot of weddings that happen during the weekday. You're going to see weekday weddings. Why? Because there are only but so many Saturdays out there. And if you're a location that, hosts weddings, you're going to get inundated and it's going to be hard to get them all in. You're going to try to make up for business. Well, what's that going to mean to other businesses? How does anyone who serves weddings, need to adjust as a result of it? So again, get creative. Think about what can you be doing now to position when that starts to happen in the future. Document shredding is another one. My colleague, Corey Elliott, I know his office at work is always full of papers. I bet right now at home, he's got
Be
papers
nice.
everywhere, right?
Be nice.
So having somebody come to your home to pick that up, Corey, would solve a problem for you, right? Again, that's all we're trying to do is get you to think about how you might solve some unique problems. I love this next one because it can be applied in so many different situations. This pizza shop. Again, Gordon, I'm going to let you speak to this one and maybe you can explain to folks how they could do something very similar in their own market.
Sure. Yeah, you're a pizza shop in New York, right? In Broadway, right? Nobody's patronizing you, right? Okay, you might get some phone calls, you might do some delivery. Wow, this one pizza shop did so well. Everybody's copying what they did. They looked out and they saw this, the apocalypse, but the phone was ringing because they did delivery. And everybody who called in, they said, hey, would you like to add a pie to that for the people over at Bethesda Hospital or Mercy Hospital? And, pick one that you want us to send it to. We'll deliver it with a little thank you from them for their service. And they doubled their pizza sales. They doubled them. And then they put a GoFundMe on their website that allowed them to raise so far about $16,000, $17,000 to buy even more pizzas. So that was great PR for them. You can Google that and see the New York Times had an article that everybody has jumped in New York, restaurants and florists and everybody else. That level of creative thinking is really what you ought to be looking at. And I know that some of you have some ideas. I want you to be really careful though, because there are some things you may not want to do. Some ideas that you look around your marketing staff that you've gotten internally and say, oh, that sounds like a really cool idea. Let's do it. Well, here's one. It was a restaurant. And they said, okay, if you buy from us, we'll send over a free roll of toilet paper with that meal that you just purchased. And you're going, well, I'm going to need it because you sent over the meal. So be careful. Sounds like a pretty cool idea, but you have to be careful. Corey, how are we doing on questions?
Oh man, we got a lot. We should get through these. I think there's some really good ones. All right, you
Let's
ready?
go. Yep.
Okay, number one, here we go. What about, and for everybody on the line, I'm going to just go chronologically to be fair.
Okay.
What about the international travel industry? Any suggestions?
Wow. I guess close to the American Airlines one. You know, you're kind of dead in the water in terms of travel. Nobody's really thinking of travel right now. There are some, you know, and you want to put the message out that if you think about, you know, that quadrant analysis that we did, you know, if you're still open, you're still doing something, we're open, you know, we can help you. But I think you might take a page from the American Airlines one and say, okay, when you're ready, now is the time to get your brands out there and make sure people know that you're there while competitors, you know, retrench. And so in international travel, people are going to be traveling again to other countries at some point. It may not be until summer or the fall, but now is the time. I would suggest a contest of some sort. Give away a free trip to somewhere, you know, when things are going to happen. And you know what you'll get through 2, 3, 4, 500 leads. You say you give away a trip to, I don't know, London or someplace, and you'll get one trip, you know, you'll give away. It might cost you a couple of $1,000s if you're doing airfare and hotel and things like that. And then if you have 200 entries, you will have 199 leads of people who say, gee, I really would like to go somewhere. And they might even in your contents entry form, click on the place they would like to go most and maybe give some reasons. Generate leads right now. Corey, what else? Corey, you with us? Have I dropped off?
Nope, you're there. I think.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm right here. Okay, here's a challenging one. Ready? What
Oh,
about
this is for Jim then. Okay.
What about a utility bill management company whose customers are other companies?
Oh, that is a tough one. I opened my utility bill today and I looked on the envelope and it said, we're here for you in tough times. Give us a call. And I thought, wow, that's a really nice message. I hate my utility company, as we all do, but I felt a little warmer about it at that point. And that was actually just about an hour ago. I got the mail. That is a tough one. That's more, I don't know, Jim, if you have any ideas. That's more, we're here for you. You know, let us know, you know, if you need anything. I don't know whether business is going to decline as a result, but I think it's more, you know, you're open, you're doing business. It's more of a communications thing right now.
Well, it might be B2B, and I think, hey, there's probably a lot of questions about that. Is energy consumption shifting away from the business to the consumer, to the household? Are there tax credits? Are there things that we need to be aware of? So there's probably some good, you know, question and answers that you could do. I would also throw this out to you. Now might be a time to underwrite something else. You know, if you're in a position, you're a utility, you're an essential business. For example, you know, you might want to underwrite something that helps people in need right now and let other folks know that you're doing that. So again, may or may not apply to this particular situation, but for everyone's benefit, think about it from that perspective.
Okay, let's go on to the next one. Everybody who's online, if you want to jump into the questions, it's down there in the lower left, says questions, because I want you to read Christian Waters, because it's very long. So I'm just going to get to, thank you, Christian, but I'm going to get to the meat of your question. How can we message? This is a solar company that relies on in-person selling. Okay, so that's very important. How can we message for both lead gen and top of mind and continuing to drive business for now after the crisis for an industry that traditionally sells in person and relies on salespeople to really close?
Yeah, that's a good one. There are cases where people just can't go door to door. It's actually okay in a lot of states, but it's become politically incorrect. People are just think it's horrible that someone might be going door to door and trying to talk to somebody. So you have to be very, very careful with that. Um, I think right now, think of your own company and what you have from an information standpoint, and go back to Corey's slide that said there's 60% more media consumption. That's not just binging on, some program or checking in with the news and what's going on. There's people researching stuff. What do you have about solar energy that you can tell people? You have a lot of great information. How does it apply and intersect with what's going on today? A lot of people are home. They're worried about their bills. Is solar energy actually cheaper? Put some information out there and just, talk about it, find a way to make it intersect with what's going on. Look at us as a company. Our expertise is advertising and marketing. We know a lot of you have questions about advertising and marketing. And so we're giving you advice on that. We're not going to give you advice about it getting SBA loans or payroll forgiveness on taxes and things like that. That's not our expertise. Focus on what you know, tailor it to what's happening right now, and try to get that out there. I would also encourage you to figure a way maybe to put a contest around it. There are lots of opportunities for contests. Win a free solar makeover for your home. Collect those names now for when your salespeople can go out there. Okay,
Okay,
let's do a couple more, Corey.
I want to do a time check because we're 5 minutes over, but we have like 5, 6, 7 more questions. What do we want to do?
Well, let's do this. Let's take a few more. If those of you really need to drop off, we'll go about 3 or 4 more minutes, just out of respect of everybody's time. I know this was scheduled for like a full hour, but we did say 45 minutes.
Okay. All right, so let's keep going. Suggestions for a small estate planning law firm with a limited marketing budget.
Estate planning law firm. I think a lot of people are probably thinking about their estate right now
Oh,
and
heck
their
yeah.
and their health. It's
Yep.
not a laughing matter,
No.
but it's like, it's like the question we got from the monument company. They sell marble monuments for cemeteries, right? And so there are things that companies like that can do, but you just want to be careful and not too cute. But sort of tap into what people may be thinking, especially people who are up there in age or maybe have some health conditions, or those are getting close to it. Is now a time to begin to think about that or review that? Again, think about that slide that Corey said where media consumption is up 60%. People are looking up stuff. Give them a reason to look up what you have and offer some advice that, again, intersects with what's going on today. You don't have to, state it really overtly, but you can just say, now might be a good time to, review your estate planning. A lot of people can relate to that. You don't need to be so specific about it, but those are some ideas.
Maybe they have extra time on their hands to do that right now. And it
Absolutely.
might be
Yep.
it could be another underwriting opportunity. If you haven't seen this, there's something called like the front porch photography movement going on right now. People are having pictures taken of their families during this time because everyone's together out on their front porch, and the photographer can take it at a safe distance. Boy, wouldn't that be cool if you were doing something like that, partnering up with a photographer to do that in certain neighborhoods that are good opportunities for you that you want to start farming. This could be for real estate. This could be for insurance companies, certainly estate planning. And people, would pay then, or you're paying for them to get that photograph. That could be a pretty cool leads list. So think a little bit creative around that.
Not
Okay.
especially for me, because I just want to have a picture of myself and my kids like acting like idiots all around me with a headline that says, maybe it's time to change your will.
I love it.
Sorry.
All right.
Not a
I
good
got.
idea.
I
Don't
think
try.
we probably have time for one more question, but
All right, let's do it.
before that, I want to share what Stephanie just wrote because it's an idea and this is what this webinar was about. Listen to this. We are in urgent care. We are doing a win-win promotion by lining up donations of individually wrapped candy, pizza, Girl Scout cookies, whatever. We make signs that say thank you and then the business name logo and holding it up with a donation. It boosts morale for our team and gives recognition to the business. Bravo, Stephanie. I think
That's a great idea. And it's terrific you've got ideas like that. So we hope that you got your juices flowing. I want to turn it back over to Mary Beth and to thank Cox for this opportunity to bring these ideas and some of this information to you guys. So thank you very much, Mary Beth.
Sure, absolutely. And thank you guys. I love the creativity, both from Gordon, you and your team, and then with the folks on the phone. It's just it's so encouraging to hear such great ideas at this time. We hope you found this webinar insightful and feel more equipped to tackle the days ahead. While we don't know fully where that's going to lead, even Gordon and team don't know exactly where that's going to lead. What we do know is you don't have to walk it alone. Cox Media is here, and we are happy to help. On the screen now, you'll see just a couple of ways that you can get some of that help if this is the right time for your business. The first is our blog. We update it regularly with timely and relevant articles that we're finding out there when it comes to marketing, advertising, and communicating your business. So you can check that out anytime, or follow us on social media at Cox_media, or just search Cox Media for whatever your preferred platform is. We definitely use that as an opportunity to share what we're finding and some insights that you might not get anywhere else, especially these great ideas like we heard today. And then finally, I'll highlight the opportunity to talk to an expert. If you've never met with Cox Media before, we have media consultants that are working with local businesses like yours every day that really have the best interest of their clients in the community at heart now more than ever. So if you need a partner just to bounce a few ideas off of, to tell you what others in your industry may be doing, or just an ear to listen as you brainstorm an idea, we are happy to be here for you, really at a time when you need us. So make sure you give us a call or let us know. We'll be following up from this webinar today with a little bit more information, so you'll be hearing from us. But we greatly appreciate your time on the call today. We hope to connect with you soon, and we hope that you stay safe. Gordon, team, thank you guys so much, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.